I once heard a story where two people saw a very beautiful rose, and one of them decided to pluck the rose, and the other decided to keep the rose where it is and water it. And I want to share this story because it's so relatable and it's a perfect way to teach what real love actually is in relationships and marriages. So this story is about two roses. Two people saw the same rose standing so beautiful at the roadside. The rose is so beautiful, it's vibrant. The petals are so full of colors. The scent is filling the air. And the first person who saw it was like, wow, this rose is so beautiful. I cannot leave it here. I must take it home where I can enjoy it every day. So he plucked it in admiration and love. He took the rose home. He placed it where he could see it every day. Few days later, the rose withered. It dried and died off. Because he, not because he hated the rose, but because he never understand and consider what that rose actually needed to stay that fresh. So this is teaching me and you that without roots, without soil, without care, beauty actually fades. Now the second person came along the same rose. Okay, he felt the same admiration and love for this rose, but instead of taking it home, they decided to let the rose be where it is and water the rose so that each time they pass, they will see it and admire it. They will protect it from harm. And the rose continue to grow and grow and blossom. And every day the rose stays so fresh because it remains where its roots fit its existence. This is teaching us in real life. Now, two people admire the same rose. One loves the rose for themselves, and the other person loves the rose for what the rose is. This is exactly how we are facing or we are being treated in real life situation when it comes to marriage and relationship. Now, what are the lessons gotten from this story? Number one lesson is that possession is not love. Now, you taking someone into your life just because of how the person makes you feel, and not the same. It's not the same as truly loving them. Love things beyond your need and consider the person's need also. Now, the first person did not consider what this rose actually needs in order to stay that alive and fresh. Now, the second lesson is that roots remind us that a person has roots in their purpose, in their value, in their emotional needs, in their upbringing. Okay, them uprooting them, not knowing how to care for them, can actually harm them. It can actually make them to die. Okay. Number three lesson is that love sometimes lets people be. Real love doesn't always mean holding tight. Sometimes its purest form of love is stepping back and letting people remain where they can strive. This is what true love means. True love is not choking somebody because you want them all to yourself. Number four, nurturing over owning. The second person found the joy and nurture it. Possession. Prove that love is not always about having, but about protecting. Number five, check your motive. Ask yourself, do I love this person for how they make me feel or who they are, even if they are not mine? When you ask yourself these questions, you will get to know if actually you love these people or you are just being thinking only about your own self. This is a very beautiful story that let us understand what love should be and what love is not all about. And this story is not all about a rose as in a rose that we know. It's about you and me. In real life, we see so many people whose life has been dimmed because they were picked for marriage by the wrong people. People who admire their beauty and want it all to themselves without fully understanding what it's required to keep that beauty alive. The rose that lost its roots in real life lessons is teaching us real life lessons. In real life, there are two types of love. Okay, the kind of love that wants to possess you, and the kind of love that wants to protect you. Now, imagine a full rose that is very fresh, is full of life, beautiful, having nice smell. One person sees it and say, I must have this beauty in my home. So he plucked it. He took it away from the soil that fit it, the soil that keep it alive, and placed it where he can admire without feeding it. But few days into it house, it withers. Why? Because he loved the beauty, but didn't understand its roots. Every person needs roots in order to thrive. Now, think about it in real life. How many people have had, how many people have had their lives being cut short, not by death, but by the death of their dreams, their purpose, their identity, because someone picks them into marriage without understanding what they need to stay alive outside of that marriage. People are so being so possessive. They want you to themselves. They don't want you to live your own life. You need a life also outside of marriage. They plucked you off from calling their vision, they cut off their vision, their growth, and placed them in a relationship where their light are dim. Some destinies have been buried this same way because the people who plucked them didn't understand their roots. Now, the second kind of love is different. The second kind of love is a person who sees the rose and say, I want to stay, I want this rose to stay beautiful. So they water it, they protect it from harm, and let it flourish in its own soil. In marriage, this is the partner who doesn't kill your individuality, but support your roots and help you grow. This is the kind of healthy love that you need, and not possession. Here is the truth, says the rose couldn't speak for itself because it had no voice to fight back. But you do. You do have a voice, you have a brain, you have a voice, and you have a mind. So you have the right to say, this soil is not for me, this soil is not healthy. I will stay here or I will not stay here. Can I grow in this soil? You have that ability. Whether you stay and nourish or you leave to be replanted somewhere, the decision is in your hands. Protect yourself from being plucked by someone who loves your beauty but has no intention, good intention towards you, or have the capacity to fit you, or have the capacity to make you grow, to live in your true essence. People are so, and this is what patriarchy has taught men. Patriarchy has reduced our essence into a possession. They take you from where you live and where you feel comfortable. They take you into somewhere that you can't even express your own self. You won't even recognize your own self. Think of yourself like a rose that is beautifully planted by the riverside, but suddenly taken into a dry forest where there is no water to feed on. What do you think the rose will look like? Why do you think some women looks very old and sad when they are married, and when they leave those places they become so beautiful? Why? Because the ground was not fertile. Learn from this story. And you see, this same story about this rose is so full of wisdom. And this is now relate the same story to how patriarchy has caged women, has reduced women into possessions. Open your eyes so wide to see how women have been reduced to nothing but possession to be owned by people who doesn't even care about the rose's existence. Patriarchy has done to women what the first person has done to the rose. Go back and listen to the story about the rose. A woman blooms in her divine essence, rooted in her purpose, her gifts, her connection to God. She is vibrant, she is radiant, she is full of life, she is living beautifully, she enjoys herself. The patriarchy came along and see her beauty, her nurturing heart, her strength, and say, I must have her. Patriarchy sees the voice of women, not to protect her, not to help her, but to own her. So they pluck her from her soil, her God given soil, her freedom, her voice, her dream, and they place in her structure that looks like honor, but feels like vase, decorated in the outside, dying in the inside. That is what patriarchy has done to women in marriages. And when their light begins to fade, patriarchy doesn't ask, what does she need to live? It asks, why isn't she pleasing me like before? Because this system of patriarchy, women are not seen as living beings with Ruth. They are possessions to be displayed. That is exactly how they see you. This is why so many destinies have been buried in kitchens and silenced bedroom. They say a woman place is in the kitchen. Is that true? So many voices muted in the name of being called a good wife. So many dreams uprooted just to fit in a man's idea of what a woman should be. Can you see the similarities? But here is the difference between the rose you are, between the rose and you. Sis, the rose has no voice. He has nothing to do. But the rose couldn't move itself back to the soil. But you can choose to return to your divine ground. Okay? That is why divine feminism can help you. You were never created to be plucked and placed. You were created to blossom where God planned you to be. How God wants you to live. God love doesn't cage you, and it doesn't stand you to your, it allows you to live in your full essence without apology. The decision to stay in that path or to return to your roots is yours, it's in your hands. And when you choose your roots, you choose your life. So what are you choosing? Are you choosing to stay? Are you allowing yourself to be plucked? Or you are allowing yourself to have someone who will look at you, admire you, and water you to grow? If you see a man who has the full understanding of what God intended for humanity, that person will treat you with kindness. And there are just few of them. Depending on how you place yourself, you can either have the one who plucks you or have the one who allow you to grow where your roots are deeply rooted. And finally, this story also teaches us that it is very, very important to know your purpose, to know your value, to know your worth. Live your life walking in your calling so that when the right and intentional man sees you and your potential, they will come into your life to contribute to your growth and not to start it. This is something that I also learned from this story. This story, I love this story so much. It's so beautiful. It's so inspirational, If you ever take time to, if you ever take time to know yourself, view your life, you leave everything to chance. Call it luck or bad luck. But really, your unreadiness or your unpreparedness will place you in the hands of people who will pluck you just like they pluck the rose flower, and eventually you will die. Because what you carry inside will reflect and attract the kind of people who will come near you. This is so magical. So start working on your dreams. Make it real. Remember, from the rose was already blooming, already looking beautiful before someone came and saw it and watered it to contribute to it. Not that he started. His water was a contribution and not a starting point. So with or without that person's water, you must be able to stand tall, because when you know your roots, no one can plant you in a vase and call it love. I love this story so much. It's so inspirational. I hope you have been able to learn something from this story. If you have not followed up the truth from the beginning, go back from the beginning of the story and listen. And I hope you will learn something and take something home. If you are not following me, guess what? Please follow me for more amazing content.